Well, hello everyone. It's Sybil Starr, and I'm here to give the astrology forecast actually for the next 2 weeks because I will be out of town next Sunday when I usually record these. Anyway, the astrology forecast will be for August 21st through September 3rd. Okay. The sun, this on August 21st and August 22nd, the sun is in the last degrees of Leo, but on Wednesday, August 23rd, the sun moves into Virgo. So we're moving into a much different energy. You know, Leo is so much about shining our light, exuberance, fun, joy, a celebration of life. Whereas Virgo is like the one who cleans up after the party. You know, Leo is the party and Virgo cleans up afterwards. And it's always great to have someone with lots of Virgo energy at your parties because they get right in there and want to help. I know I have many Virgo friends and I really appreciate them, and especially and really that about them as well. All right. Anyway, Virgo is the archetype of the priestess, and it brings in the concept of sacred work and reminding us there is no difference between the sacred and the mundane, that washing the dishes is every bit as sacred as saying a prayer and tending a fire. It's all about mindfulness, our attitude about how we approach whatever it is we are doing. And the quote I really also love is the what is it? After the ecstasy, the laundry. They're both there, and they're both aspects. They're both sacred. They're both divine. Anyway, Virgo says it is now time to take care of practical concerns, and tending to the details of everyday life might not sound like a lot of fun, but it is a necessary part of our lives and it is sacred. Okay. So Virgo, when the sun is in Virgo, it's an ideal time to get organized, to do detail work. Also I would say to like to go back and finish unfinished projects. Virgo likes to finish things up. um Virgo is also a great time for problem solving because it's ruled by Mercury and brings in those critical thinking skills. Virgo is the sign of self-improvement. Virgo knows that we can always improve, but the shadow is perfection, believing that we can be perfect. And because when we try for perfection, the inner critic comes in, and the inner critic of Virgo can be very uh, can be hurtful. And so it's really important to listen to how you talk to yourself when the sun is in Virgo, to be kind to yourself and to realize that making mistakes is what we call mistakes. They're not always mistakes. I mean, they're just simply in a learning experience that we need. And with time, we improve as we pay attention. All right. Anyway, so the sun is at 1 to 10 degrees of Virgo during this time, and it starts right off conjunct the royal star of Persia, Regulus. Okay. Now, the Persians believed there were four stars that held up the heavens, and these stars were connected to different archangels. They were very powerful stars. And we're actually, during this time of Virgo, two of those stars are going to be activated. And the first one is Regulus. It is the brightest star in the constellation of Leo the Lion, and it's in his tail. And for a long time, it was in the late degrees of Leo, but it has now moved into 0 degrees Virgo. Okay. And so Regulus is connected to the Archangel Raphael, which is the Archangel of healing. And Leo is also connected to the lion energy. It's often a leadership quality. It means someone who is lion-hearted. And all of the royal stars of Persia can bring great success, but with a nemesis. And the nemesis of Regulus is revenge. And I do just want to bring this up because it is interesting. Donald Trump has Regulus actually at 29 degrees of Leo conjunct his Leo ascendant. And so I personally have no emotional attachment in any way to our former President Trump. I'm just going to point this out, though, that it brings Regulus brings great success, but it has a nemesis of revenge. And I feel like if former President Trump is vengeful, this will be the God speaking that he, I don't really know. I'm not really paying a lot of attention to what is going on with him. I'm just talking from an astrological perspective that he needs to avoid revenge if he wants to remain successful. And that's a better way to say it. All right. Okay. The sun is opposite the star Fomalhaut, which is another royal star of Persia. It is at 4 degrees, 12 minutes of Pisces on August 27th. And so it's an opposition, not a conjunction. And this star is connected to Archangel Gabriel, who is the divine messenger. And this star brings very magical energy. Bernadette Brady says that it brings the energy of like the child stolen by the fairies. And so it also brings great success. It's a very charismatic kind of an energy. But the downfall is an inability to live in the mundane world, always wanting to be in the magical world. So, because the goal, of course, is, we have, our lives, we walk in both worlds. Okay. And the third star that is activated is Thuban in the constellation of Draco. And it is the brightest star in Draco, and it's at 7 degrees, 46 minutes of Virgo, and it's exact on August 30th. And it has to do with the galactic dragons. This is where the dragons come from. And many people, the dragons have just really entered our field, and many people have a big connection to dragons. And they bring ancient wisdom and are protectors of our galaxy. All right, so if you have a connection to dragons, you might find around this time that it is super strong. All right, so what else do we have going on? Well, of course, we have Mercury retrograde. Mercury is retrograde from August 23rd, from September 15th, from, let's see, I think it's 21 degrees. Oh, I gosh, I don't have it here. 21 degrees of Virgo, and it goes direct at, let me just kind of look this up quickly. What degree is that? Oh, at 8 degrees of Virgo. Okay. And so first off, let's just talk about Mercury and Virgo. So Mercury rules Virgo. Mercury, represents the mind and how we perceive the world. And in Virgo, Mercury is very focused, efficient, and practical. It's detail oriented and organized, and it analyzes data. Whereas, Mercury rules 2 signs, Gemini and Virgo. And in Gemini is where it gathers the data. Mercury analyzes it, makes sense of it. And so it is a time of deep thinking, using our critical thinking skills to analyze information that is coming in. And so with Mercury going retrograde here, it's really asking us to do some deep thinking about the information that we are taking in. And, and what does it mean? Okay. And of course, when Mercury is retrograde, and Mercury goes retrograde or appears to move backwards, it's an optical illusion. It's just simply a slowing down in its speed of orbit. And it comes about when we have gotten ahead of ourselves and need to slow down. Our plans may go awry, misunderstandings could happen, there could be communication and complete computer glitches. So I feel like the really big teaching, well, it's 2. It's 1, to learn patience while Mercury is retrograde, and learn to go with the flow, because everything will be kind of put back as it should be when Mercury goes direct. But I also feel like it about this analyzing the data that is coming in and doing some deep thinking and not jumping to conclusions, to really, as the information comes in and is gathered, to start to make sense of it. Okay. In your world and in the external world, we've got so much going on in the external world, and there's so much information coming in. And I guess the other piece is, there's so much misinformation. So it's really important to use your critical thinking skills to what is true and what is not true. All right. Mars is active in this 2-week period. Mars is opposite Neptune on August 28th, and then moves, Mars is opposite Neptune this week. Let's see, what day did I see that? I think it's I'm just going to say this whole next week, and the exact point of opposition is, let me look at that real quick. Okay, Mars 27, that's right, it's on Wednesday. Okay, Wednesday the 23rd. But anyways, it's in play this whole week. And Mars, of course, is the planet of energy and drive. Whatever Mars is doing, it brings energy and enthusiasm. And it's a time to take action. It represents our passion and our desire, and shows us how we go about getting what we want. Okay. And Neptune is the planet of illusion, delusion, imagination, intuition, and spirituality. In your chart, Neptune shows where you can be creative, compassionate, and spiritual, but also where you may struggle to see the reality of situations. Okay. And so with Mars opposite Neptune, and Neptune is in its own sign. Neptune is very, Mars in Virgo is at 27, I should say that 27 degrees of the Mars, and 27 degrees of Virgo for Mars, and 27 degrees of Neptune in Pisces are opposite each other. So if you have planets around that, you might find this especially true, that things are going to get very foggy, that can really struggle to see things as they actually are. And it's likely we don't have all the information we need. And so it makes it really important to not jump to action or conclusions right now. We need to wait for the fog to lift so we can get a better view of what is in front of us and can see what we're missing and need to find. And if you are unclear about anything, what I have come to really understand is, if I don't know what to do, I don't do anything. I don't do anything until I am clear, and to just keep the channels open of the information coming in and analyzing it. It is coming in, but it is not a time to take action. Okay. Yeah, and pay attention to the flow of energy. And it may be that's what you actually feel is the information coming in, but feel the energy around it. It is coming in, okay. And of course, Mars in Libra, Mars moves into Libra on August 28th. And Mars in Libra tends to use their charm to get what they want. And they can also see many different sides. Mars and Libra can see many sides to an issue, and can be more indecisive. But the truth of it is, that we may just simply, once again, need more information. But we don't want to be the bad guy. And Mars in Libra, because Libra wants people to like them. So they can have a tendency to be passive aggressive, or not they, I'm just going to say this energy can have a tendency to be passive aggressive, to not ruffle any feathers, and yet manipulate to get what one wants. So kind of just being aware of when you're angry, what you're really angry at, and with the person you're really angry with. Okay. And to really deal with it as it comes up, to not let it settle, because when we let it settle, things become unconscious. And that's when we get manipulative in our behavior through being passive aggressive. Mars and Libra can also be argumentative, and not even be aware of it. So anyway, so just kind of being aware of those things. But generally they say Mars is actually, that's not a bad placement, because it actually brings some sense of justice, and this is another thing that could come up. Mars in Libra is very concerned about justice and fairness, and the injustices that we're seeing in the world, they may come really into our conscious awareness, and also to what we need to do to come into balance within ourselves. All right. Now, we have the full moon. It is at 7 degrees, 25 minutes of Pisces on August 30th. At 6:36 p.m. And of course, the Pisces Virgo axis Yeah, so the Pisces Virgo axis, it can be, it's got several different qualities that I want to talk about. But first, let's look at the chart. I do want to share the chart with you. Let's see here. Nope, that's not it. Here's what I want. Okay. Sometimes there's several different buttons. Okay. Let's see here. All right, so here we go. So here we have the sun. The sun is at 7 degrees 25 minutes of Pisces. It's opposite the moon at 7 degrees Pisces 25 minutes. And Saturn is also in play. And that's actually really all I'm going to talk about. We've got Mars over here in Libra. Oh no, we also have right, the nodes of the moon. Okay, we've got the north node of the moon right here, which is conjunct Eris. We're going to be talking about that as coming into a much tighter degree with Eris. We've got Pluto square the nodes. We have Venus here at 12 degrees of Leo. It's in a square to Jupiter. So those are some of the things we're going to be talking about. All right, so I just wanted to show that to you real quickly. Okay. All right, so anyway, back to the Pisces Virgo axis. It's called the victim savior axis because, you know, Pisces is such a sensitive energy and it feels everything. And Virgo and Pisces are both signs of service. They're very much Pisces. Pisces feels the suffering and the pain, and Virgo wants to fix it, make it better. And so we often get rescuing here. And so it's really important, well, being the victim or being the rescuer. And so it's really important to be aware of this energy at this time that, you know, because there is a lot of suffering in the world. And so how do we actually help the situation without rescuing and interfering with someone else's karma? How do we do that? And so it, you know, it is kind of a challenge. It's and I just find for myself that I know that I am rescuing if I'm feeling resentful about what I'm doing. If I'm not feeling resentful, I feel like I'm still in a place of being helpful. So I think that's one of the challenges to be aware of. The other between the Pisces Virgo axis is being versus doing. You know, Pisces says we need to be. I mean, this is when we connect with our higher selves. This is when we connect with Creator, with all that is. It brings us into that place of existence. Whereas when we're always doing, we can't get there. And so it's really important to find a balance between the two. If you're someone that's a doer, make time to be. If you're someone who's a beer, it is really important, you know, to also, you know, get things done. So finding this balance, okay, taking care of yourself. All right. We also have, you know, the moon is conjunct Saturn. And so it's also opposite the sun. And so I feel like there's a couple of things this might be saying. I feel like, you know, number one, you know, Saturn is very much about 3D reality and our boundaries, and it likes to control things. It brings up fear. You know, Saturn is one of our major teachers, especially, you know, in this 3D reality. Whereas Pisces is very much the expansion of reality. It's about, you know, all that is. And so I feel like it is showing us that the real reality of our existence is based on vibration, not so much the outer world. It's like attracts life. It's our it's all about based on our frequency and where our energy aligns. That's how we're creating our world. And so I feel like this time is about inner work and about increasing our vibration, and to know that it's an inside job and it's the choices we make in each moment, how we respond to the energy that is coming in our field. And it's about responding from the heart, and it's about responding from the highest consciousness from which we can work from. Okay, because true reality is that the external world is a reflection of our inner world, and to heal our world we must heal ourselves. And Saturn in Pisces to me is also about spiritual commitment to a spiritual practice, because that is what keeps us in the present moment, in our hearts, and in the frequency of love, which is where we want to be. It is about meeting our world with compassion and forgiveness for ourselves and others, but it's also an opportunity to meet fear. And Saturn, because like I said, Saturn brings up fear, and Saturn in Pisces, fear can show as anxiety, and that is the fear around not being able to control our world, and because Pisces says to surrender, to let go, to take deep breaths and trust the process, to know the river is flowing to a destination, even if you don't know where it is going, and allow yourself to follow that energy to where it is taking you and trust it. One of the big teachings that keeps coming up for me is to confront my fears, ask for help, and trust the process. Because Pisces also reminds us that we are never alone, and we've never been alone. And the world of the invisible is every bit as real as the world as the visible, because we're actually having an experience in this reality. It is not who we are, and it's always about really remembering who we are. And because we know the only way to meet the challenging energies in our world is to allow more of our higher selves to emerge, that and to change the frequency in which we live. And here comes the real challenge: is the north node of the moon is conjunct Eris and square Pluto, or the nodes. The north node is conjunct Eris, and Pluto is squaring the nodes, both the north and the south. And as we can see in this, well, first, let me just say this. The nodes have to do with destiny. And Pluto square the node says that we are at a crossroads. And what is this crossroads we are at? And in our own personal lives, and in the world around us, and in creating a new world. And of course, we know Pluto is a purification process. It brings up everything that does not align authentically with who we are. And I'm first going to start with the outer world, because the external world, because we can see the world is on fire, and a purification is going on, and fire transforms and purifies. And Pluto, of course, brings to light anything that has been hidden. And so I'm going to talk about something that is really on my mind, and it is the fires, and especially the one in Maui. And it's really important to understand that geoengineering, weather modification, and weapons of eco-terrorism have been around for a while, although I believe they have become more advanced lately. They are not new. They have been around for a while, and we have used it against our enemies in different wars and things. And we have this technology. And LBJ said, President Lyndon Johnson, back in the 60s, said, "Those who control the weather control the world." And we have the technology to do this now. And it has been developed by military contractors such as Raytheon and Lockheed Martin, and purchased by our military, according to some sources. And my Arcturian guides say that every civilization comes to a crossroads where they have developed their technology to a place where they must decide if they will use that technology to destroy themselves, or to use that technology to accelerate their spiritual growth. I feel like we are there right now. We must become aware of what our government and those governments around the world are doing with the technology that has been created, because only with truthful information can we make informed choices, and that requires investigation. There is so much more here than meets the eye. There is so much that has been hidden that is starting to come out, and it's really important that we have the ability to look at it with clear eyes and to analyze it and use our critical thinking skills. And but it is not about succumbing to fear, because my understanding is that fear only exists in our 3D reality. And it is those lower frequency emotions like fear, like blame, shame, guilt, anger, all of those places where we carry all of our trauma. That's really our trauma that is speaking. It is not us. And to heal that trauma and letting go of those lower frequency emotions that keep us tied to this paradigm. And that's why I'm saying in every moment we have a choice with how to respond to the energy that is coming in, and to allow compassion and forgiveness of self and the other. That is the only way, and following what makes us come alive. Okay, following what really feeds us, not what drains us, while at the same time acknowledging the pain and suffering that is happening and the sources of it and how we can hold people accountable. Okay, so it's all there. It's the paradox. It's holding everything there. The North Node in Aries is about, and the North Node is the way forward. It's about being bold and brave and a pioneer, making empowering choices in each and every moment, which takes courage. Aries is often blunt and direct, but honest, because we are creating a new world, and we are at the crossroads of making difficult but empowering choices that feed our life force energy, and so that we can take it to the higher vibrational field, because that is truly where we are heading. And from my perspective, this is the only way to deal with it. That we have to do, it's all an inside job. As I said, the external world is a reflection of our inner world, and it's always about each choice we make in our own spiritual growth. And I talked about the full moon. It's very much about our own personal spiritual practice and a commitment to our spiritual practice to keep us in alignment with what is really in the highest good. Okay. Now, we also have 6 planets retrograde in addition, because Uranus joins, let's see who all is retrograde. We've got 2 inner planets. We've got Mercury and Venus. And then we have, let's see who we've got. We've got Jupiter, Neptune, Pluto, Uranus. Oh, golly. And also, too, we also have, let me look this up again and make sure. Okay, so who do we have? We have Pluto, Neptune, Saturn, Venus, Mercury. Uranus goes retrograde on the 28th. Now, Jupiter doesn't go retrograde until September. So anyway, we have 6 planets plus Chiron retrograde. And of course, when we have this many planets retrograde, it's kind of like a log jam. It kind of jams up the energy, because I feel like it's really wanting us to go into that inner world, being inner focus. It's a reset. It's a reset in our own consciousness, as well as taking time to reorganize our lives with all this Virgo energy. And to come back to the present moment, because this is where life happens, not in the past, not in the future. It's a time to reflect upon our lives, where we are, what we want, and what's going on in the world. Okay. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is Venus retrograde, because I do believe she brings in such beautiful, powerful energy. And she goes direct on September 3rd, but she's still retrograde through the end of this month. Well, until September 3rd. And so actually in the next recording that I do of MoonDay morning, she will be direct, but she's actually will be coming out of her light from this being blocked by the sun shortly. And she will be rising as a morning star. Okay. And as Venus rises as a morning star, after she has had I'm not sure what day that is. It's during this 2-week period that I'm talking about. One, I don't remember the day. It might be the 26th. Anyway, she's out of the light of the sun, but will be rising as a morning star, refreshed and renewed, and to let your light shine like that beautiful morning star, refreshed and renewed, recognizing your own inner divinity, remembering who you are. And she squared Jupiter. And even though a square is challenging, Jupiter and Venus are the two great benefics. They bring great gifts regardless of the aspect. And I feel like Jupiter always brings in the attitude of gratitude, to open your heart to all of the blessings in your life and those that are coming your way, to open your heart and feel the love around you, that you are a being of love and tuning into that vibration in the field, even though it is, like I said, the original, when I talked about Venus retrograde this time being in conjunct, being in a focal point of a yod, it was about recognizing that, to keeping our heart open to feeling the suffering and the pain as well as the beauty and the joy, because they are all here, and to know that miracles happen all the time, especially when it is in your highest good. And as you open to the love, miracles can happen. And the only thing that is impossible is what we believe to be impossible. And to remember that we are beings of light who have put on these earth suits to grow the greater reality. But it's time to remember who we are, to let that light shine, because that is truly who each of us are. And that is really how we change the world, is to let our light shine, because then the darkness can no longer, the light actually absorbs the darkness. As the darkness comes in, it is absorbed and it is transmuted. And that's the way we heal our world. Anyway, that's what I see. I'm wishing you all a wonderful 2 weeks. I will be back again in early September. And if you're interested in a reading, I have all of my information in the description box below. All right, aho and namaste.